Khan, Shalom, Israel, Shalom, Yasharallah, Shalom to the 12 tribes scattered abroad, right? It's Kapash Kayal, wfiEurope, and we're back with another live. Khan, we're back with another live again. We're going to be going into the strangers. Who are the strangers in the Bible? We're going to be going into who are the strangers. But yeah, Khan. So before that, like we usually kind of go over with these lives, we're going to go into what's going on, what is going on in the world today, right? Before I get that, I'll grab a quick preset. All right, I want to grab a preset. Come on, man. Come on. I'm going to grab a preset. Shalom to everyone that's joining in. It's going to join, right? Come on. I'm going to grab a preset. I'm going to pull up some links as well, because hey, some interesting things are going on right now. Today even, right? Right? But let's get some precepts. Get some precepts to start off with first, right? Notice how willing everyone's enduring, right? Everyone is holding fast to the faith, right? I'm gonna pull up King James, the 1611 Bible. Come on, share my screen. Come on, man. Come on. We'll go to 2 Timothy. We'll start off there, right? Come on. This is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, and we'll start from verse 1. Right, it says, "This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come." Right? So we know, obviously, as we get closer and closer to that time, we don't know the day or the hour. We don't know when it's going to take place. We can see that things are kind of heating up in the world, right? It says in verse 2, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemous, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, right? Without natural affection, truth breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good, traitors, heedy, high-minded, lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying the power thereof. From such turn away." So in these last days, you don't want to be caught up, and entangled with these kind of people that are carrying those attributes. You really don't want to be part of that, man, right? Because that's gonna get you destroyed, man. Right? That is gonna get you destroyed. Right? Let me pull one of the classics that I like to pull on in Proverbs. It's 24, right? I want to be joined to people that have that kind of spirit, man. Right? And two what can't walk together unless they be agreed, right? This book of Proverbs, chapter 24, Salakia, and we'll start from 21, right? Classic, right? It says, "My son, fear thou the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are given to change." So you want to be very mindful of the people you're around, because a lot of people are very, easily swayed, right? They just toss to and fro, and they kind of like that stuff, right? With every wind of doctrine, you know. And we read down, it says, verse 22, it says, "For their calamity shall rise suddenly, and who knoweth the ruin of them both?" Right? Because now when you're joined hand in hand with that, like somebody that's wicked now, let's say like, your friend here, he's a trapper, right? He's a trapper, he does gets up to mischievous stuff. You've got that swiper spirit, right? And you try to tell him swiping, no swiping. And then he's doing what he wants, you know. So you get caught up with him. Hey, imagine what's gonna happen to you now. You know, he might have a weapon on him, he might have something on him, and now you're caught up in that, you know, right? It says verse 23. Can't I'll drop that there, right? I even got to Proverbs 23. 23. Can't it's Salakia, it's even 20 Proverbs 24, right? Verse 1, right? It says, "Be not thou envious against evil men, neither desire to be with them," right? So you don't want to be in that kind of you don't want to be around that. People say, "Oh yeah," like in the truth, you know, have conversations with brothers sometimes. It's so easy to be wicked, man. It is easy to be wicked, right? It's easy to commit, adultery, to steal, to murder, right? You know, it's easy to eat pork, to hate your brother, to do it, all sorts. It's easy to do that. But to be righteous, hey, that's the real challenge, man. Like that's why we're being proved, you know. That's why we're being proved, right? Let me go to that as well. Let me go to that in Matthew 25, right? Because we're being proved right now, right? For the marriage, right? Come on. So this is Matthew 25 and verse number, I'll start at verse 3. I'll start at verse 1, right? It says Matthew 25 and 1. It says, "Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them," and the bridegroom, and that's going into to Christ, right? Right, you have Bashim Yahshua. It says, "And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish." So you want to pick, are you going to be them 5 idiots? Are you going to be one of the wise, man? Right? And it says, "They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them." Right? But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. Right? Because you're going to be ready, man. If you're wise, and you're going to be ready. You're going to be ready for that, the coming of the Lord, man. So people are saying, "Okay, I'm tired." You can't just endure for a couple of months. You just kept the Passover, right? It doesn't work like that, man. You gotta constantly endure, right? You gotta constantly endure, right? So bear with me, right? Bear with me. Google stuff, all right? You'll be able to constantly endure. You can't just be in the truth for a couple of minutes and they say, "Okay, yeah, I had my fun, I had my fringes, I done it all." You can't tell me nothing, and you just fall out the truth, man. And you just freak off with people, man. Right? The Lord's not dealing with that. The Lord is not dealing with no freak off spirit, man. Right? So come on, let me just get this sent, right? And we'll go into some of the news articles that are going on. Right? Because there are many things going on, man. There are many things going on, right? So hold on. Bear with me. Alright. So come on. So Can't. So let's get into it, man. So we want to be those ones that are wise, man, right? You don't want to be. I mean, Christ goes into the parable of, with the parable of the talents. You don't want to be that guy. You just know the truth, and you just say, yeah, Most High kind of gave you your lot, man. Kind of gave you a gift, right? And then you took it and you just hid it, man. Right? You just hid your gift, man. You're supposed to do something with it, right? You don't want to be an unfaithful servant and just, you get dashed away, man. But can't. Let's get into some of these articles, man. Let's get into some of these articles, man. Because, hey, boy, oh boy. Boy, oh boy. Right? So, damn. It says, so called, man. So called. Right? So called. And his name is Jacob. His name is Jacob. You think Jacob, right, when he got to his so-called old age, think Jacob was looking like this? Right? Jacob wasn't looking like this, man. Right? Jacob was not looking like this, man. Does this look like a man that could wrestle with an angel? Does this look like a man that could kind of grab the angel when he kind of puts him in it? Nah, man. This just looks like a damn, hey, man. It looks like a something, man. Right? But it says, so-called Lord Jacob Rothschild, financier, right, dies aged 87. Right, man. So this guy, probably he's like top 10 wicked men on the earth, right? Well, he's kind of died, right? And yeah, it is what it is, right? So let's read it. It says, look, this Rothschild, whatever his name is, the financier, member of the Rothschild banking family, has died at the age of 87. In a statement on Monday, right? In a statement on Monday, his family called Mr. Rothschild a towering presence in many people's lives. Yeah, because he was probably stealing all their money, man. Right? He was an important guy. He was helping. He was helping the kids, helping the Israelites that were poor. And he's part of the banking system, man. Right? Net worth probably. We'll check his net worth as well. Right? His career began at the family bank. Right? N.M. Rothschild and Sons before starting his own wealth management fund. He was also known for his philanthropy, right? And a lot of these people, they will disguise, philanthropy for being they'll disguise as philanthropy stuff, and really they're Freemasons, man. We're just gonna call it and say it as it is, right? Shalom to God Benai as well, right? We're just gonna call it as it is, right? So they will disguise being a Freemason with being or doing philanthropy, man. This guy was probably freaking off, man. Right? He was freaking off, man. I'm surprised they didn't find his name on the Epstein files, right? Because he was probably on there, right? It says former Prime Minister Tony Blair paid tribute to his dear friend. Look how they put that in brackets, describing him as a wonderful human being. Wow. Born in Berkshire in 1936, Lord Rothschild was educated at Eton College and went to study history at Christ Church, Oxford, right? So look. So now let's get down to the nit and grit. Look at this. It says the Rothschild family has an estimated fortune of about 825 million, according to last year's Sunday Times Rich List. So what kind of wickedness did this guy do to inherit that much money, man? That ain't normal, It's not normal to have that much money, right? Hey, Solomon had money, right? Through trading, that's a point. where people actually trading things like like material, gold, resources. Hey, this guy he probably stole it, man. Right? You got a precept?
Khan, I got a precept. This is Genesis 27 and verse 40. It says, I'm going to start 38. And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke off thy neck. Right? That's how Esau came about to inherit all these riches. Obviously, he broke his yoke off the neck of the Israelites back in the book of Kings, right? Ultimately, they came back in power and took over the world by the sword, and that's how they move, man. That's what they do. That's what the Edomites do. They go over and they take the land and they take over and they take over. Even what do you call it? The land. What land? What's the land they were living on? The Edomites. They took the land of Mount Seir. That's what I was looking for. Mount Seir. They took Mount Seir from the Horites.
Right.
That wasn't even theirs, and that's supposed to be their land. But even that, they had to take that off someone, right? Because all they do is take. All they do is take, bro. Yeah, that's what I got now from that.
But Khan, yeah, man. So it says, Slacky, man, this is madness. It says he was a cultural leader, right? Someone tell me what culture, right? Was this what was he pushing, man? What culture was this guy pushing? Somebody enlighten me, right? This guy is a culture leader, man. Right? Madness, right? See that? I'm just gonna get little bits and pieces. It says he was of course a towering figure in Britain's Jewish community, but his impact was global in his support for great causes, including the arts and the environment, and his tireless work to advance peace in the Middle East. Right? So you see, Esau's just a liar, man. Right? Because a lot of these guys, they be funding the wars, man. Right? That's how they make their money. They got, okay, yeah, here's buy that, and then and they get their money from that, man.
So
Right?
like, yeah, there's a lot of money being made in wars. When
See
wars
that?
are happening, there's a lot of money being made. Because if you're controlling the oil, you're controlling the food supplies, right? Then you can price up how you want it. You can put the price up exactly how high you want it, however you feel like, and nobody can tell you nothing because there's no one competing with you. You get me? So yeah, there's a lot of money in wars, man.
Yeah, man. You got Shalom Zachariah as well.
Shalom, King.
So as well, hey, these you can search it up and do your research on the Rothschild. A lot of them they're involved with Freemasonry, Satanism, and child, all that kind of stuff. They're involved in that whole palaver there, right? I'll pull up one more article, right? Brothers don't have any more. If they want to pull up something, feel free to. Right, this is an interesting one, right? Aaron Bushnell, U.S. airman, dies after setting himself on fire outside Israeli embassy in Washington. Right, so it says, damn, it says, someone was identified by police as Aaron Bushnell, 25, of San Antonio, Texas. Officers from the U.S. Secret Service extinguished the flames before the man was taken to hospital on Sunday afternoon. Before setting himself on fire, he said, "No longer." he said he would no longer be complicit in genocide. Right. So there's one of the Edomites that kind of saying stuff right now, man. They're saying, yeah, we used to do that, but I'm not trying to do it no more. I used to do that, but I'm not part of it. Right? You're part of it. You can't just burn your way out of it and say, okay, we've got to forget. Right? And that's judgment. Right? The Most High kind of put the spirit on him to do that. It says in a video aired live on a streaming site, I said it on Twitch, the man identified himself and said he was a serving member of the Air Force. He said he was about to engage in an extreme act of process after setting himself on fire. He repeatedly shouted, "Free Palestine." See that? So, hey, there you have it, right? He's saying "Free Palestine" and he's on fire. All right, that's great.
I wanted to prove a comment I made earlier about the Edomites taking the land of Seir from the Horites, right? Because all they do is take. This is Deuteronomy 2 and verse 12. The Horims also dwelt in Seir before time, but the children of Esau succeeded them when they had destroyed them from before them and dwelt in their stead, as Israel did unto the land of his possession, which the Lord gave unto them. Right? So the Most High give us this land when we go and possess it, when we go and destroy the inhabitants and take the land. But Esau goes around the world and does abominable stuff to everybody he comes across. He did it to the Horims, then decided, he's Mount Seir is his now. Same thing with the Greeks. Now he's the Greek now. Now with us, now he's the real Jew now. Right? Every movie we've seen, even to do with Tarzan, that's to do with being in Africa. The Edomites, they take part of it, right? Because they don't have no culture at the end of the day. They don't have a culture. Their culture is actually stealing other people's culture. That's their culture. I just wanted to prove that quickly. You got it.
To add to that as well, I'll go to, I don't know if you got Habakkuk chapter 2 already. So Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 4. It says, "Behold, his soul which is lifted up is not upright in him." So his soul that he's got, every nation, every people, they got their own soul. Jacob, the Israelites, our soul is a spirit of being able to prevail. That's why we're more resilient than any other people. And Esau's spirit is a spirit to, our brother was saying, to cleave and colonize and to be a culture vulture. That's in their spirit, because they rejected their culture, which was the blessing that could have been given unto them, and now they're just vultures for everybody else's. They like what the Indians do, they like what the Moabites do. They like their tea, because that's why the national dish in England is some type of curry. Right, that's their national dish. It's not fish and chips or bangers and mash. But their national dish, I believe, is like chicken korma or tikka masala or something like that. Because they're, I'm gonna read on it. It says, "But the just shall live by his faith." Verse 5. "Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home." He doesn't stay at home. Right? He doesn't have one place. He's a vagabond. He doesn't stay at home. He likes to go in other people's homes and kind of settle there like a squatter. And you go, you turn around, next thing you know, you're just there, just chilling there saying, "This is my gaff." When these times it belongs to someone else. Right? It says, "Who enlargeth his desire as hell." Right? So, he's just full of lust. And his lust just increases, never satisfied, man. Literally never satisfied. Man's got Australia, Antarctica, Greenland, the whole Arctic Circle, Russia. Now, what more do you need, man? He's got all the lands that you could ever think of and hope for. South Africa, All types of lands is everywhere. He's gonna say so.
Khan,
It's like it.
Khan, you got
I
something.
was going to. No, I was going to say South Africa, and you hit the nail.
Yeah, can't. I'm gonna finish that real quick, and then it says and is as death, and cannot be satisfied. See, cannot be satisfied. One country can't satisfy her, man. Right? Needs more countries for the fire, man. Right? It says, but gathereth unto him all nations, right? And heapeth unto him all people. That's colonization. That's them having an empire, right? Because you know, the Persian Empire was very large, the Roman Empire was very large, you know, the British Empire was extremely large. That's heapeth unto him all people, man. Right? The British Empire had, you know, India, you know, all of the West African countries, the Caribbean countries, at one point America itself. So, you know, they had lands all over the earth, man. They had Australia, New Zealand as well, I believe. So they were everywhere, man. Right? So this is that people, man. Right? That proud people that can't stay at home and want to be up in everyone's business, up in everybody's countries, up in everybody's politics, up in everybody's culture, telling other people in other cultures that they had longer than theirs what their culture should be like. They just found culture in about 600-700 BC. They found a culture. Right? They started becoming Greeks and Romans, and they started doing something. Before they didn't have nothing. But they're trying to tell people that have had a culture like us, who've had the traditions and culture and laws and customs, you know, that ours is wrong. When we've had ours longer than, and they do that to these other nations as well, man. So that's his pride. You had a point?
Yeah, Khan. Just wanted to go back onto that Rothschild demon, right? Because really, he's a demon, man, right? I remember seeing this picture back in the day, right? And this lady that he's with, and she's a demon as well, man. Right? So this is Mr. Rothschild, right? And this is it says Marina Abramovich poses with Jacob Rothschild in front of Satan, summoning his legions. Right? So, hey, there you have it, man. And they're making it plain upon tables onto who Satan is. Right? It's not the Book of Mormon and, you know, Satan's black. This is supposed to be Satan, man. Right? You see the skin color AIDS, you know. But they're smart. I don't know, you know, kind of me and Zachariah and Benaiah, we kind of go to, you know, the museum. We stand in front of a picture and we're smiling, and we know the picture is Satan behind us. I mean, we're gonna post that. Right? That is wicked, man. I'm gonna put up the full picture so brothers can see it properly, right? Right, because this is madness. This picture is just madness. All right. There you go. And no, he's not naked. He's got like a little thing covering, you know, the areas and that. Right, but it says Satan summoning his legions from, I believe it's from 1796 to 1797. All right. So you can tell it's just a freak of picture. Right. He is Satan, rebel angel, who's sent to hell. Right, standing by the lake of fire, summons his followers. Right. And in that last picture, he's Satan summoned these two followers, man. Right, because they're standing in front of that, freaking off to it and smiling. Right, so here's the real picture. Right, they had time to go all the way down there to go and see this picture of Satan standing in front of the, you know, circled fire. Right, and one more on that little devil as well, sort of she devil. Right, because she be having a lot of these weird art things, man. Reprobate. Right, so her name's Marina Abramovich. So you can see she got like a freak off thing going on here, man. Right, might have to, you know, brothers, you search her up, man. A lot of freak off stuff. You know, she has these things where people are, they like food. They got food on top of them and stuff like that. right? So yeah, you see that? The hell is this, man? So this is the stuff they kind of be doing, and you know, that's her vibe, right? It's freakism, right? And she had there's an article where she's saying, I'm an artist, I'm not a Satanist, all right? Hey, brother's got it.
Okay. So, yeah, man, we'll get into the topic, man. Right? Who are the strangers in the Bible? Right? There's wild doctrines out there, confusion. Sometimes just not knowing, you know, maybe just people were just new in the truth and don't have the answers, don't have the precepts, don't have the background, context, understanding, you know, all of which is fine. So, you know, it's down to the Spirit. I'm going to go to John chapter 14, verse 26. It's John chapter 14, verse 26. It says, "But the Comforter, which is the Holy Ghost, whom the Father will send in my name, he shall teach you all things, and bring all things to your remembrance, whatsoever I have said unto you." So the scriptures, it's our culture. There's lifestyle is describing that we was living. So when we actually keep those things, we're going to be able to put our feet back in the shoes of our ancestors and what we were doing in righteousness and how things were ordained and how things were meant to be. Right? Things weren't meant to be all over the place as they are now. The Most High had laws that a lot of our people and the world itself, which is given into the hand of the wicked, you know, it's not following. It's not following and upholding the standard and the structure that we have right now. Right? So I'm starting Job chapter 19. Right? Because first of all, what is a stranger? Right? What is a stranger? Right? And not in every context, you know, stranger's gonna have different meanings. It's got different even Hebrew words are interpreted and translated to be stranger. So you have to know in the context what it's actually speaking about. So this is Job chapter 19, verse 3. It says, "These 10 times have ye reproached me. Ye are not ashamed that you make yourselves strange to me." So here's Job speaking to you. Right? Let's go to Job chapter 2 and verse 11. Right? It says, "Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that was come upon him, they came every one from his own place, Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite, for they had made an appointment together to come to mourn with him and to comfort him." Right? So his friends came to be with him. So he's speaking to his friends, people that he's known, he's grown up with, he's communed with, he's well acquainted with, who know him. Right? It says, so back to Job chapter 19, verse 3, it says, "These 10 times have ye reproached me." Right? So his friends, they came to comfort and to mourn him, but he's saying that they've reproached him. How? By giving him words, which even it says in verse 2, I'll read it. It says, "How long will you vex my soul and break me in pieces with words?" So they came to comfort him, but they didn't actually comfort him. Right? Let's read. I'm going to go to Job chapter 42 and verse 7. Right? It says, "And it was so that after the Lord had spoken these words unto Job, the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite, My wrath is kindled against thee and against thy 2 friends, for ye have not spoken of me the thing that is right, as my servant Job has." Right? They didn't speak the right things, man. Right? They didn't give the the right type of counsel. They're saying the right things in the right season. They were saying things out of season. They said, they gave out wisdom, but their wisdom was out of season. Right, we'll go to Job chapter 30. Job chapter 32. Right, and verse 3. I saw verse 2. It says, Then was kindled the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barachel the Buzite, of the kindred of Ram. Against Job was his wrath kindled, because he justified himself rather than God. Also against his 3 friends was his wrath kindled, because they had found no answer, and yet had condemned Job. So they were his friends, yet they condemned him. They found no answer. They found no reason and understanding as to why Job was going through those things in which they came to comfort and to mourn him with. So because they found no answer, Job is saying that these people who should have been his friends, they've become strange to him. Why? Because going back to Job chapter 19, verse 3, it says, These 10 times have ye reproached me. Right? So they reproached him multiple times. And because of that, who he thought was his friends, and someone that would have been there for him when he was low, they assumed that Job was doing something evil as to why he was going through what he was going through, and was suggesting the type of judgment that evil people get, and saying, look, this is you going through all of this, well, don't you know, like, this is what the wicked kind of receive, so he's kind of suggesting that Job is wicked, but so Job's not being comforted by that. Right? They may have had wisdom to actually explain what type of things wicked people receive, but he didn't get comforted by that. So he didn't really come across as a friend, because a real friend is going to be there for you, in your adversity, right? He's going to be there for you when you need him. He's not going to, because you're down, start getting onto you, start grilling you even more and saying, and start killing your self-esteem, right? It's going to try and build you back up, right? And prove that in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Right? A real friend is going to build you back up. Right? This is Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 10. It says, For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. Right? If you have 2 brothers, and they're real brothers, and one falls, the one is going to lift up the other. Right? You're not a real friend if you see your brother fall and you just kind of just look to the side and just snigger and just keep it moving. His knees are grazed, dislocated his shoulder, and you say, oh yeah, see, you should have been watching where you're going, you waste man, and you just walk off. That's not, being a good friend, right? Even the angels, they help out people if they fall on a. Let me get that real quick. In Matthew chapter 4. Right. This is Matthew chapter 4, and verse 6. It says, And saith unto him, If thou be the Son of God, cast thyself down, for it is written, He shall give his angels charge concerning thee, and in their hands they shall bear thee up, lest at any time thou dash thy foot against a stone. So the angels are actually there to help us in case you trip up. Right? So even if you may not have someone else that's, in the truth laboring with you, but if you're not, the Most High is merciful to, send those angels, send the Holy Spirit out, that if there is a stumbling block in front of you, to help you out if you do fall. So how much so a brother that has the Spirit of the Most High in him, right? So it's back Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 10. It says, For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow, but woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he have not another to help him up. And that's how Job felt, not having someone that could be with him to help him up when he fell. Right? He fell in the judgments that or the chastisement that was upon him, the persecution that he received he fell and had no one to actually help him up, even though he had people there. Right? So that's why it's saying, right? It says, verse 3 in Job chapter 19, you are not ashamed that you make yourselves strange to me. So they were strange to him because they weren't being a true friend unto him. They were being a fake friend for him, or non-existent, because in his low times they became non-existent. I'm gonna go to Proverbs. Go on chapter 19, verse 7. It says, all the brethren of the poor do hate him. How much more do his friends go far from him? Right? So when people get to a lower state, some people, they just go far. They go far away. You know, they don't want to know you anymore, you know, because you can't offer them anything. Right? And sometimes that happens, you know, when you come out of the world, people might not want to know you anymore because in their eyes, you know, you have nothing to offer them. So in their eyes, you're poor. Because poor, you know, it just means, you know, they don't have anything to give, right? On one level. So you can be poor in someone else's eyes because you don't have anything to give them, right? And you can be rich in someone's eyes because you have a lot to give. That's why the real riches is wisdom, because once you have wisdom and you're full of it, there's a lot to give. So you're rich in wisdom, right? You can be rich in faith, right? You can be rich in this world, right? Because you have a lot to, right? Depending on what you can offer. So you may not be able to offer the things of that, you know, to people of this world anymore. So you may be poor. So the people that were your friends in the world, they may go far from you because you're poor, and they may hate you. They may become an enemy. They may make themselves strange unto you. That's why you have the term, people say, hey, stranger, right? When someone says, hey, stranger, they're not saying, hey, heathen. They're not saying, hey, Edomite. Hey, Elamite. They're saying, whoa, we was friends, but we're not as close anymore, right? That's what strange means. So that's, you know, be real, right? When it comes to the term of strangers, it's not, you know, when you say, hey, stranger, you're not saying, hey, Gentile. No one thinks like that. So you can't just automatically assume whenever you see a stranger that he's talking about that. That's not what strange means, right? It says, how much do his friends go far from him? He pursueth them with words, yet they are wanting to him. Right? You might reach out to that brother or that person that was in the world, and he don't want to know you anymore. Right? The replies start getting longer and longer in distance, in time, I'll say. And now it's like, you know, you kind of don't know each other anymore. So that is a form of being a stranger. It says in Job chapter 19, and I'm gonna go down to verse 13. Right, and further prove that. It's Job chapter 19, verse 13. It says, he hath put my brethren far from me, and mine acquaintance are verily estranged from me. So these people that are strange and estranged, he's talking about his friends. Not talking about people that they're from other nations. He's talking about his friends, man, his brothers. It says, my brethren, right? People from his nation, his people, right, have put away, they're far from him right now, right? How they far? Not in distance, because they're with him, right? Speaking about, you know, people not wanting to know him anymore because of how the Most High has put all of these things in his life, you know, taken away, you know, his children, and it's thinking, oh, this guy must have some secret sins, man. Must be wicked. He must be a curse. I want to be around him, right? Lord forbid, man. Lord forbid, you know, someone, you know, is going through a lot of chastisement by the Most High, and you just forsake him and say, oh, this brother must be cursed, right? He keeps, you know, he's getting broke, he's losing his job, you know, his wife's leaving him, you know, his family's sick, his family's ill, he's going through a lot. Nah, I don't want to be around this guy. I want to be around the fun guys. I want to be around the fun brothers. Right, where's the fun Israelites at? Right? You just want to be around the fun Israelites. No, I don't want to be around this brother because he's always going through it. Right? He's always got a story about the things that he's going through. I want to be around the ones that, you know, just, you know, everything's going well for them. That's not what this truth is about, man. You can't forsake a brother, you know, because he's going through a lot. That's evil, man. Right? So these type of your own people can become a stranger as well, because you can have a stranger in the spirit, that someone just doesn't want to know you anymore, has distanced themselves from you. I'm gonna read on in Job chapter 19 and verse 14. It's Job chapter 19 verse 14. It says, my kinsfolk have failed, and my familiar friends have forgotten me. They that dwell in mine house and my maids count me for a stranger. I said people in his own house count him for a stranger. So being from another nation is not what makes you a stranger. You can be a stranger. Your own family can count you for a stranger, right? Doesn't automatically mean heathen. Not saying in some instances it doesn't, but in some instances, right, you have to get the context on why stranger is used in a particular way at that particular time, right? I'll read it again. It says, they that dwell in mine house and my maids count me for a stranger. I am an alien in their sight, right? So is Job actually saying, yeah, he's an alien, he's E.T., he's E.T. go home. He's not actually saying that. Right? He's not Kang and Kudos from The Simpsons, man. Them things in a spaceship. He's not saying that. Right? He's saying that his people don't even want to know him anymore. You got a point? Anyone want to add to that? I'm going on Job chapter 31. And I'm going to get verse 31. It says, if the men of my tabernacle said, oh, that we had of his flesh, we cannot be satisfied. All right, so Job is going through all of the types of things. This is where it says in Job chapter 32, kind of right there, Job 32, Job made before Elihu came and just, nah, that's enough. I'm rebuking you. I'm rebuking your ass. Right, this is Job 32 verse 2. It says, then was kindled the wrath of Elihu, the son of Barakah the Buzite, of the kindred of Ram. Against Job was his wrath kindled, because he justified himself rather than God. And in verse 1 as well, it says, so these three men ceased to answer Job, because he was righteous in his own eyes. Right? Because this last statement he's given is going to make him be deemed as righteous in his own eyes. Right? So he's basically speaking about all the things that he does, right? All the works that he does. And he's, and he has done mighty works, but he's kind of boasting in it, saying basically, because I've done all of this, how can I be going through these things? When I do this, I do that. Where's my sin? Like, where am I even going off? So that's why it says he's righteous in his own eyes, right? So he's saying, about talking about the things that he does and gives for his people. But this is Job chapter 31, verse 32. It says, the stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my door to the traveler. Right? So we see with the Bible, it kind of usually gives like it'll repeat things, right? It'll repeat things and say it in a different way the second time, right? Let's prove that in Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 9. Right, Deuteronomy chapter 32 verse 9. It says, for the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. That's saying the same thing twice, right? The Lord's portion is his people. Portion is the part where you put the inheritance on, right? Where you pass something down to, right? So Jacob is the lot of his inheritance. So saying portion and inheritance, that's the same thing. Jacob and Israel, right? Or his people and Jacob is the same thing. So the Most High, he multiple times he kind of repeats things and says things the same in the same time, and it would kind of say it twice for emphasis, right? And that's why, you know, it sticks in our mind, and we remember it the way we do, and because the Most High emphasizes it and will say it in multiple ways. All right, so this is Job chapter 31 verse 32 again. It says, "The stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler." So the stranger is the traveler, right? So for people that are going through different lands, going from one tribe to another tribe, right? Let me even get that up real quick. Right. Israel wasn't, you know, this was before they had, you know, cars and motorways. All right. Ooh. Too much. All right. It's before they had cars and motorways, man, and trains and planes and these, you know, these type of devices. There we go. All right. So this is Israel, right, when it was established by Joshua. All right. So when Joshua established Israel, right, and gave the Israelites the portions and the lands that they were to inherit with the nations that were surrounding them after defeating the nations, right? Partially. Obviously, you still had the Philistines kind of vexing Israel. So this is how it looked. So let's say, right, a brother needs to go from Gad, right, and keep the feast day, right? He has to travel, right, to Judah. That's going to take, it's even got a, I'll have to come out. It's even got a scale on there, and it will tell you roughly how far that is. So from that distance there, that's going to be 60 miles. So let's say you're going from Heshbon to Jerusalem, right? That right there, that's looking like about 30 miles. I might say, oh, 30 miles, that's kind of calm. Yeah, in a vehicle, right? But you know, you would have to have a means of transport to get you there. Right? You're not gonna get a horse and just giddy up and just start running all the way down there. No, like that's walking. Even whatever animal you're on, that animal is walking that 30 miles. You're not asking no donkey to run 30 miles straight. Right? No donkey's doing that. That's why they're called donkeys. Right? They don't do that. Right? When's the last time you saw a donkey run? Right? So they're gonna walk that distance, 30 miles. So that's gonna take hours. You may have to stop off somewhere. You may not make it to Jerusalem. Even if you're traveling long distances in a car, even on a plane, you might have to make stops on a plane even. So you may have to make stops, right? You're in Heshbon. You may have to, may not make it to Jerusalem. So you may have to stop in Jericho. So if you're in Jericho, you're not, this is not the land you're allotted. So if you're from Benjamin, you'd be like, what are you doing, being from Gad or being from Heshbon? What are you doing here, man? You're not Benjamin, right? You're not from around here. Why don't you go back to your seed? That would be, oppressing your own people, man, oppressing the strangers, because this man has traveled from one tribe to another tribe, right? So now, he's kind of got similar vibes to what our people have today, right? The same people going from one postcode to another postcode, going from one town to another town. You're not from around here. You could be all from London, but one brother's in Tottenham, another's in Hackney. You're a Tottenham you. What are you doing from around here? Or you're a Hackney you. What are you doing from around here? Or what are you doing around here? So the Most High gave us commandments to look after the strangers, right? People who would have to actually travel, right, from one place to another or pass through somewhere to get to somewhere else. Right, so you may have to stop there, and Yahushua was a stranger at a point, man. Right, and we get that in Matthew. Let me see. So Matthew chapter 2, and I'm gonna get verse. Let me see. So I'm gonna get verse 11. It says, and when they were come into the house, what house? The house that they had to find because they were on the move, right? This is not their place that they were staying. They were on the move. That's I'm gonna read up from verse 9. Right, it says, when they heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star which they saw in the east went before them till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with an exceeding great joy. And when they were come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And they had opened their treasures. They presented unto him gifts, gold and frankincense and myrrh. And being warned of God in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed into their own country another way. Right, so they went back, right, to where they lived, but they went another way. So when they had to stop, when Yahushua was born in where, man? He was born in Bethlehem. Right? What was he doing in Bethlehem, being born there? They were traveling at the time, right? And then Mary, her waters broke, right? She had to give birth. And then, she gave birth to Yahushua righteously. And, he was a stranger. He was out and about. He had to stay somewhere. He had to find a place to stay, an inn, which is like a hotel, man. Yahushua had to get a hotel, or Joseph and Mary had to get a hotel. They had to stay somewhere because they needed somewhere and someone that was going to be able to take them in. They were a stranger in someone else's land. All right. Reading on. There's another point. Verse 13, it says, and when they departed, behold, the angel of the Lord appeared to Joseph in a dream, saying, arise and take the young child and his mother and flee into Egypt, and be thou there until I bring thee word, for Herod will seek the young child to destroy him. So now Yahushua went to Egypt. Is that making him an Egyptian now? No, now he's even a stranger in Egypt. What's he doing in Egypt? A lot of people will say, he went there because he's dark skinned, and therefore that's who he's black. I mean, on one level, you could say that, right? You could say that, yeah, man, the Egyptians were dark, but he didn't go to Egypt to blend with the Egyptians, because really, that not everyone at this time in Egypt was so-called the ancient Egyptians that we know of, right? Those at this time, right? You had the Cleopatras that were in Egypt. You had the Ptolemaic dynasty who ruled in Egypt before the Romans even took over. So you had significant amount of Edomite influence within Egypt already. So it's not strange to see a white man in Egypt. I know some people it's not strange to see a white man in Egypt, because at this time they was actually ruling Egypt for the past 300 years. How the hell would it be strange to see a white man in Egypt when they were ruling Egypt for 300 years. Right, so it's not so him going to Egypt, he didn't go to blend in with the dark people, right? He went to blend in with the Israelites. I'm gonna go to Acts chapter 18, verse 24. He went to blend in with the Israelites. It's Acts chapter 18, verse 24. It says, and a certain Jew, right? A certain Jew, right? An Israelite, a certain Jew named Apollos. Right? He's a Jew, but he's named Apollos. That's a Greek name. Right? He's got a Greek name, but he's a Jew, man. Right? He's an Israelite with a Greek name. It says born at Alexandria. Where's Alexandria? It's in Egypt. He's a Jew. He's not just, he kind of lived in Alexandria for a little bit because, he was rich. He just wanted to travel. He's wanting to travel and go around and have an experience. And he was born there. So his parents are from there. So he had an inheritance there. So he was an Israelite born at Alexandria. What Israelites doing in Alexandria? Well, where was the Septuagint written? It was written in Egypt. All right, let's get that. All right, the Septuagint. All right, when the Old Testament was translated into Greek. Yeah, come on. There's the Septuagint. There's the Septuagint, sometimes referred to as the Greek Old Testament or the translation of the 70. Right, that's because Septua, right, means 70. Right, and often abbreviated as LXX. Right, L in the Latin is 50, X is 10, so LXX is 50 plus 10 plus 10 is 70. So it is the earliest extant Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible from the original Hebrew. What's the original Hebrew? The Paleo Hebrew, right? This is the translation of the Hebrew Bible from the original Hebrew. It says the full Greek title derives from the story recorded in the letter of Aristeas to Philocrates that the laws of the Jews were translated in the Greek language at the request of Ptolemy II Philadelphus, 285 to 247 BC. Right, so this is before, way before the times of the Maccabees, right? That Ptolemy, right, who was the ruler of Egypt, decided to translate, like he wanted the translation of the Old Testament in the Greek. Why? Because of how prevalent there were Israelites in Greece at that time. Right, even going back to the Persian Empire, where we were scattered, right, amongst the 127 provinces from India unto Ethiopia. So we have been in Greece for a significant amount of time, right? So 285 to 247 BC. So not every Edomite wanted to just burn our scriptures down, right? Not every Edomite wanted that. That's why Antiochus, he's specified as one of the chief wicked, right? He was wicked, on another level, because at some instances, right, we had the ability to be able to translate those scriptures into a Greek language, because at this point, after, about 30, 40, 50, 60 years, new generations come. And what happens when new generations come and people also start intermingling with the men, start intermingling with the women around them? The children start speaking the language of that they're in now. So now the children are speaking Greek. not speaking the Hebrew anymore, right? So it became necessary to have it in Greek because, you know, our people were speaking Greek, and they kind of didn't want us really speaking the other languages anymore and speaking in Hebrew. That's why it's mighty and powerful for us to go back to the Hebrew, because they don't want us speaking it, right? The world is going to want us to speak English. They don't want us to go back to our language and speak our language, right? And throw curses up in the Hebrew. They don't want that. So, I mean, that's the main point on that. I'm going to go back to Acts chapter 18, verse 24. It says, and a certain Jew named Apollos, born at Alexandria, an eloquent man and mighty in the scriptures, came to Ephesus. So he was I'm going to put Alexandria on the map, because, you know, just in case we don't know what that is. All right, just to prove all things as well. All right, so this is Alexandria, not far from Israel, right? But it's in Egypt. Right, that's where Alexandria is. So you had Apollos there in Alexandria. It came off, but you can still see it. All right. You can still see it. All right, in Egypt. I'm going to go to 2nd Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. It says, the brethren, so this is in the same Greek captivity that, you know, the Septuagint was, the Old Testament was translated into through the Septuagint. All right. It says 2nd Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 1. Says, the brethren, the Jews that be at Jerusalem and in the land of Judea, wish unto the brethren, the Jews that are throughout Egypt, health and peace. So there was Jews throughout Egypt hundreds of years before Yahushua went to Egypt. So when he went to Egypt, right, and he would have been a stranger in Egypt, right, when he went there, he didn't go to just blend in with the Egyptians, to just blend in with Mizraim. He didn't go there to, you know, go and look at the coffin text, man, and the pyramid text, and get into chematology and sun worship. He didn't go there to learn about the Egyptian gods, right? Who, you know, do things in right? You just, you know, these nasty gods, man. He didn't go there to learn about that. He went there because he had significant amount of Jews in Egypt, right? And the Jews that were in Alexandria, the Jews that were throughout Egypt, and the Jews in Judea, they had constant contact. They had constant contact between one another. So they were well acquainted with one another. So Yahushua, he went to Egypt to hide from Herod, because he had a significant amount of Israelites in Egypt to be able to dwell there with, right? So that's, you know, it comes with, so going back to Job chapter 31, verse 32, what comes with that? What comes with strangers? Because there's laws on strangers that we got to look after strangers. So, you know, we have to make sure that we are looking after strangers, people that are traveling from one place to another and may not have the, you know, ability to just, oh, I forgot this, let me just go home and get it. They don't have that. So, or, you know, this broke down, but, you know, I left the tools at home. They don't have that luck. So we have to look after strangers, people that are traveling. They're actually very vulnerable. So of our people that are traveling are very vulnerable if they're going through to find a different place, man. So Job chapter 31 verse 32. All right, so now we get the context to that. It says, the stranger did not lodge in the street, but I opened my doors to the traveler. So the Egyptians are not the ones who just, I'm talking about the native Egyptians. Because again, at this time that Yahushua went to Egypt, you had many nations, many ethnic groups within Egypt. Right? It wasn't just the ancient Egyptians. Because remember, before that, the Persians were in there, even the Greeks were in there. Right? You had Nubians, Cushites, you had all types of nations in Egypt for real. He didn't just go there just to blend in. He went there because he had Israelites in Egypt that would open the doors unto him. And that's how you look after a stranger, right? People that, they don't have any means, that, almost like a refugee, right? Look up the definition of a refugee real quick. And then, yeah, so lucky you got it. Right. And people that are refugees, they seek asylum. Right. So certain countries, they kind of keep the laws of, kind of looking after a stranger to a certain extent. It says refugees are people who have fled war, violence, conflict, or persecution. Yahushua used a refugee, fled persecution. So, this is under the United Nations. The United Nations have laws that come with people that are facing persecution, that have to flee the hostility that is in their country to go to another country. It says they often have had to flee with little more than the clothes on their back, leaving behind homes, possessions, jobs, and loved ones. You might have to leave certain things behind, right? Because you just had to run and just go. That's why we're going to be strangers, man. We're going to be pilgrims, the Most High said, right? I'm going to get that one real quick. Second Ezra chapter 16 and verse 40. I think I want. Second Ezra chapter 16. Verse 40 says, "O my people, hear my word. Make you ready to the battle, and in those evils be even as pilgrims upon the earth." Right? It's not saying pilgrims as in, you're making a pilgrimage to Mecca, man. Right? That's not what it's talking about. Right? It's a different type of pilgrim, man. Right? Let me get that real quick, and then I'll pause it. Hold on. And then I've got another point on that. This is a definition of pilgrim. Right, so pilgrim. Right. So you have, the current definition, what people kind of interpret to mean a person who journeys to a sacred place for religious reasons. Not talking about that. Right. When the Most High say we're going to be as pilgrims upon the earth, it's not speaking about, having a good time, outing with your family, and you're taking everyone to Jerusalem to see the third temple. That's not what it's speaking about. Right. It's speaking about this archaic definition where it says travel or wander like a pilgrim. Right. It says pilgrim. It says a person regarded as journeying through life. Right. Here it even says traveler. Right. And we read about that in Job 31 verse 32. I open my doors to the traveler. All right. So that's speaking about, not Hajj, right? Not Hajj, but when you go to the etymology of the word pilgrim, it's not speaking about Hajj. We're not doing Hajj. Right, it says a person traveling to a holy place or whatever, but we're not doing that. It says also a traveler, generally a wayfarer, foreigner, stranger. Right, stranger. So a stranger can be a pilgrim. So the Most High said that we're going to be pilgrims upon the earth, right? Because we're going to be in other lands, we're going to be as foreigners, strangers. So that's plain, really. Yeah, that's plain, really. I had one last point. So this says what is the difference between a refugee and an asylum seeker? It says a refugee is granted status while still outside the United States. An asylum seeker is granted asylee status after entering the country or while seeking admission at a port of entry. Right, so you had admissions, or people, kind of check you to see like where you're coming from, why you here, what's your deal, basically, to see, okay, can we allow this person to stay with us? They're saying that they're seeking asylum because some people do that. They try and bend the immigration laws using persecution as their means to get into another country. Not that I'm promoting that. It happens, man. It's well known that happens. People lie and say that they're seeking asylum. They're really not. They're just trying to get into the UK or America, and that's why a lot of people be mad. That's what causes a lot of hostility. People saying, these people need to get out of our country and stuff like that. They're saying that because a lot of people, they're lying, saying that they're seeking asylum when really they just want to come here to, for other means. Right, and they'd be lying about their age and stuff like that, saying, I'm seeking asylum, I'm only 15, so you have to help me, basically. And yeah, man, it just gets long. So this is basically the laws for strangers, and you have to look after a stranger. Right, you had people that would be coming from different regions for different reasons. They may have a famine in their land, and you have to come to another land to be looked after. Right, but I'm gonna yield on that. If you had any points.
Khan. Mighty precept, bro. But Khan, obviously topic being stranger. I want to go to Psalm chapter 69 and verse 8. And it reads, I am become a stranger unto my brethren, and an alien unto my mother's children. So this is David, right, writing for our learning, how he's become a stranger unto his brother, right, unto his brethren, and an alien unto his mother's children. Verse 9, for the zeal of thine house have eaten me up, and the reproaches of them that reproach thee are fallen upon me. So the people that hate the Most High, the people that hate his words, right? We eating this word up and going out there and teaching the people and trying to tell them you got to stop eating pork. The reproach that we get from them is because they hate the words of the Most High. They hate the Lord, man. And that's what David was facing, right? I'm gonna read that again, verse 9. For the zeal of thine house have eaten me up. So the zeal of the words of the Lord is eating him up. And the reproaches of them that reproach thee are falling upon me. The people that hate the Most High, ultimately they hate David because of the zeal that's been eating him up, because of how much he's trying to push this word, right? So a stranger is not necessarily a stranger, meaning we don't know this person. There's different type of strangers. You got Nakar and you got God, right? Exodus. No, Salakia. I want to go to Leviticus chapter 25 and verse 35. It reads, "And if thy brother be waxing poor and fallen in decay with thee, then thou shalt relieve him, yea, though he be a stranger or a sojourner, that he may live with thee." So we're seeing your brother being called a stranger or a sojourner, right? I'm going to jump down to verse 39. It says, "And if thy brother that dwelleth by thee be waxing poor, and he be sold unto thee, thou shalt not compel him to serve as a bondservant, but as a hired servant, and as a sojourner. He shall be with thee, and shall serve thee unto the year of Jubilee." Right? So he's supposed to serve you until the year of Jubilee. Essentially, your brother, you cannot have him as a bondservant. You got to have him as a hired servant. That's what the scripture is saying. Let's jump down. Verse 44, Leviticus 25 and 44. "Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen." So the people you can have as slave men and slave women, they can be of the heathen. But we just read earlier in 39 and 40, your brother, you cannot have him as a bondservant. He has to be as a hired servant. But your bondmen and bondmaids, them you can have as the heathens, showing you there's a difference between the strangers. Even when you go in that definition of stranger, right? You got Nakar and you got Gar. Verse 44 again, Leviticus 25 and 44. "Both thy bondmen and thy bondmaids, which thou shalt have, shall be of the heathen that are round about you, and of them shall ye buy bondmen and bondmaids." So these other nations, we can have them as our bondmen, as our slave men and slave women. Verse 45. "Moreover, of the children of the strangers that do sojourn among you, of them shall ye buy, and of their families that are with you, which they begat in your land, and they shall be your possession." Again, it's calling a bunch of people strangers that sojourn among us. Of them we can buy, and of their families that are with you, and that can be our possession. Again, it's using sojourner, stranger, for the actual heathen. Verse 46. "And ye shall take them as an inheritance." So these heathens that we're going to have as bondmaids and bondmen and bondmaids, ye shall take them as an inheritance for your children after you, to inherit them for a possession. What does it mean when you possess something? It's yours. We possess clothes. We do what we want with them. If we're done with them, we throw them away. If it gets ripped, we can fix him up or throw him away. It's our choice what we do with them. That's the inheritance. We're going to inherit them, right? It says, verse 46, continuing on, "To inherit them for a possession, they shall be your bondmen forever." So these heathens can be our slave men forever. "But over your brethren, the children of Israel, ye shall not rule one over another with rigor." Showing again there's a separation between the strangers, the treatment we're supposed to give the strangers, and the treatment we're supposed to give our fellow brothers who are strangers. Like the brother was going into, you traveling from Gad all the way to Jerusalem, you might have to stop a couple times. Wherever you stop, you're a stranger there. That's not your land. So they're looking at you like, yes, we're still brothers, but you're still a stranger, right? So there's a way you can treat that stranger, and there's a different way how you're supposed to treat another stranger that isn't an Israelite, right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 12, and verse number 43. "And the Lord said unto Moses and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every manservant that is bought for money, when thou hast circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof. A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof." So that's clearly going into non-Israelite. Because we read earlier in Leviticus, we've seen non-Israelites being called strangers. Them being called strangers doesn't mean you're supposed to treat them the way you would treat a heathen stranger, right? Can't. I'm gonna touch on one more. This is Ezekiel chapter 14 and verse 5. It says, that I may take the house of Israel in their own heart, because they are all estranged from me through their idols. So Israelites became estranged from the Most High through their idols by being in idolatry, right? That's why we're getting Paul speaking about the Gentiles being grafted back in. These Gentiles are estranged from the Lord due to their idolatry. That's what I got for now. Brother's right.
What was that last precept? You're on mute.
Salakia, Ezekiel 25 and verse 14.
Okay. All right.
Salakia, Ezekiel 14 and 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it's not that.
Ezekiel 14 and 5. 14 and 5. Salakia. Okay.
Right. I'm gonna go to yeah, man. That was some mighty points, man. Like it says in Psalms, we're not. You can be a stranger and a brother at the same time, and like in Leviticus as well. So the point is, it's not always this word always means this. The Bible doesn't work like that, right? It's more spiritual and contextual than literal, as we see, with Esau's understanding, right? Like Gentile doesn't literally in the etymology mean non-Jewish, right? That's not what it literally means. Right? It goes back to because when you go to the word Gentile in Spanish, the word for people is la gente, right? Which is Gente, right? Doesn't mean when it says la gente, or it's just saying the Gentile. That's just how you just say people in general. It doesn't mean it's not talking about anything to do with Jewish or non-Jewish or not. So that's just how from Latin and the languages diverge into Spanish and English, and I would assume French probably has the same type of word for people in that type of sense as well. Like that's just how people means. So Gentile, that's where it kind of comes from. I'm gonna go to Jeremiah chapter 35 and verse 7. This is a mighty topic through the Spirit, because a lot of people are in different doctrines and type of stuff through not being going through the precepts, or not having them explained, or not really knowing how the Bible kind of operates and pieces these things together for us. So it's important, man. This is Jeremiah chapter 35 verse 7. It says, neither shall ye build house, nor sow seed, nor plant vineyard, nor have any, but all your days ye shall dwell in tents, that ye may live many days in the land where ye be strangers. Right? So our people, going into Babylon, right? We were strangers there. So if we as Israelites go into other lands, we can be strangers, man. Right? We can be strangers if we go into someone else's land. Right? That's even the prophecy of Abraham, that we're gonna be strangers, right, in another people's land for 400 years. I believe that's Genesis 15. Let me get it. Genesis chapter 15 verse 13 says, and he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs. Talking about the Israelites. The Israelites are going to be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So we can be referred to as strangers when we're in a land that is not ours. So even like on particular tribes, they can be a stranger by being in a land that's not theirs. Right. I'm gonna go back to. I'm gonna go to 1 Peter chapter 1. All Right? We can be strangers in lands that are not ours. It's 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 1. The pages, let me get there. Right, it says, Peter, an apostle of Hamashiach Yahushai, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, and Bithynia, right? Because we were scattered, man. Our people were scattered, right? Right? We can go to Deuteronomy chapter 28. We were the ones that were scattered among nations, man. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. It says, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. Right? Of course, talking about talking about Christianity and Islam, yeah, on one level, but before that, right, it was speaking about the wood that was cut down, right? For example, we'll go to Jeremiah chapter 10. Right, idols that were made from wood that was actually cut down. Right, that's initially the wood, right, that's talking about. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 3 says, for the custom of the people are vain, for one cutteth a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and with gold. They fasten it with nails and with hammers that it move not. They are upright as the palm tree, but speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. Be not afraid of them, for they cannot do evil, neither is it in them to do good. So these are wood that people were worshipping. So that's initially the wood, right, that people were worshipping among the nations. Where was this referring to? Babylon. So in Babylon, people were worshipping wood there, right, because of the tree worship, right? That was the spirit in Babylon, going back to the ancient Babylon, right? And the stone, right? People would use stone to make statues. They would use stone to make these Greek gods. So initially, wood and stone was that, but today the wood and stone is these other religions, right, that people are worshiping. So the same spirit is upon the earth, manifested in a different way today. Right, before the stone was those Greek gods people were making, Diana, Zeus, all these sculptures and stuff like that people are worshiping for real. All right, so our people were strangers scattered throughout all of these lands. Right, in the curses, if we were not keeping the commandments, one of the curses that will be scattered through different lands. So the Most High called us strangers. I called us strangers for being scattered through all of these lands. Right, that's why we were in Asia, Bithynia, Cappadocia. That's why we were in all of those lands. I'm gonna go back to 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 11. Right, going back to that pilgrims as well. Right, this is 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 11. It says, dearly beloved, I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims. I beseech you as strangers and pilgrims. That's what we were, strangers and pilgrims. It says, abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul. Right? We have to, we have to abstain from fleshly lusts, which war against the soul. But Paul, Peter referred to our people as strangers and pilgrims among all of the lands that we were scattered in and scattered to. Right? And Paul, he was sent unto Jews. Right? So regardless, right, even if you're a Christian, you think that, these Gentiles are not Israelites. Well, Peter, he was speaking to strangers, but he was sent unto the Israelites, or he was sent unto the Jews even if you want to misunderstand what Gentile is, he was sent unto the Jews that were scattered abroad, man. That was his office. right? Paul, an apostle for the uncircumcision, Peter, the apostle for the circumcision. So these are Jews scattered, right? And we know these are Israelites. Let's get verse 9. We know that these are Israelites. This is but ye are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation. So Peter is saying that these strangers scattered throughout all of these lands, you guys are a holy nation. All right. That's not some type of Christian nation, so the nation of Christianity. That's not what we're speaking about. You ask these Christians, what nationality are you? They say, I'm a child of God or something like that. No, who are the children of Israel, man? That's who this Bible is about. This is who Peter's writing to, the children of Israel. It says, a holy nation, a peculiar people, right? That ye should show forth the praises of him who have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light, which in time past were not a people, but now the people of God, which had obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. Who's that speaking about? Who's it speaking about that were in time past not a people, but now are the people of God? All right, let's get that in Hosea chapter 1. Who is that speaking about? Who are these strangers that Peter is writing to, that he's saying that they were a people and are no longer a people? Who are these chosen generation, this holy nation? It's Hosea chapter 1, verse 10. It says, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And that's why, because our people were scattered. There were so many of us, we were scattered, but we're still a larger number in those places we were scattered to. It says, and it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. The Israelites were said to be not a people, right? Our kingdom just diminished, scattered into all these lands. We're no longer a kingdom anymore. Peter's letting them know, no, you are a kingdom. You are a holy nation, right? So if you're all connected in the lands that you're scattered to right now, and you build yourself up, and you will be a kingdom, the kingdom is at hand. The kingdom is within us, right? Because when we did have a kingdom, right, we were taken down because the kingdom wasn't within us. We weren't acting like a kingdom. So it's about acting like one before actually having the land that we actually dwelling all together in, right? If we can't dwell together in the small places we're scattered to, how are we going to dwell together when millions of us are together in righteousness, in this truth, right? Kind of to prove, I was talking about Israel. Let me go to Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. Right, in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, as I referenced earlier. Exodus chapter 19, verse 5. It says, now therefore, if you will obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then ye shall be a peculiar treasure unto me above all people, for all the earth is mine. So we're going to see that Peter, he was quoting Exodus, he was quoting the law. Right? That's what the New Testament is. It's what it's about, quoting the law. Verse 6 says, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and an holy nation. So that's a kingdom of priests. That's what Peter is saying. Royal priesthood, kingdom of priests. He's saying the same precept. It says, and ye, so you people that Moses is speaking to, and ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And it says holy nation in 1 Peter 2:9. This is where they get it from, right? Christians are confused, man, right? They're trying to think that just applies to just anyone, man. It says, and an holy nation. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. So this, when it says the kingdom of priests and a holy nation, these were the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. It didn't say these are the words which thou shalt speak unto anyone you feel like it can apply to. No, you can only apply the kingdom of priests and a holy nation unto the children of Israel. You darest not break the commandment of speaking these words unto anybody else, telling these heathen that you're a holy nation, telling these other nations that you're a kingdom of priests. It doesn't work like that. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. Peter referred to these people as strangers. These Israelites are strangers in his book that he wrote unto them, in his epistle that he wrote unto them. Right? Well, they're the Israelites. Is your point?
Mighty points out. I wanted to go back on I want to touch on the strangers and the branches being broken off, because that led to that, right? Us being strangers and then the branches being broken off, and now the heathens, and shall I say, all our brothers who are Christians as well, believe that it's applying to everyone when it's not. Because the Most High told us, precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. With stammering lips shall he speak with his people, right? This is roughly paraphrasing, of course. This is Exodus 12 and verse 19. It says, 7 days shall there be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever eateth that which is leavened, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. So this is showing us that this is in context. This is talking about Israel as a whole, whether he be a stranger, not born in the land, or whether he be born in the land, an Israelite who's born in that land, right? Showing again that the stranger, depending on the context decides who it's talking about, whether it's talking about an Israelite stranger or a heathen stranger, right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse number 21. It says, ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates. Why is the Most High telling the prophet Moses to tell us we can't eat anything that dieth of itself, but we can give it to the stranger? Showing us that there's the Most High is treating us differently from the heathens, from the stranger. In this context, it's the heathen, because we can't give our other brother, our fellow Israelite, something that's died of itself, but we can give it to the stranger, right? There's always a hierarchy with the Most High. It's never been everybody being equal. Even within Israel, right? We've got some people who are smarter than others. We've got some people that are bigger and mightier, right? We've got some people who are taller in stature, some people who are smaller. We're all different, right? But we all make one nation. So there's no such thing as, oh, we can all be equal. The Most High never wanted that. That was never the plan from the get-go, right? I'm going to read that again. This is Deuteronomy 14 and 21. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself. Thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou mayest sell it unto an alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in his mother's milk. So because we're so holy, we can't even eat anything that died of itself. We have to give it to the stranger, showing you that there's a difference in the stranger depending on the context, even alien, right? This is the book of Slovakia. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 7 and verse number 8. It says, for the head of Syria is Damascus, and the head of Damascus is Rezin. And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. Right? So this is the prophet Isaiah prophesying that the northern tribe will no longer be a people. Why would they no longer be a people? Because they will go into idolatry. Right? Let me prove that. This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4. And I'm going to start at verse 15. It says, though thou Israel play the harlot, yet let not Judah offend. And come not ye unto Gilgal, neither go ye up to Bethaven, nor swear the Lord liveth. For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. So this is the Most High prophesying. Obviously, the prophet Hosea came from the northern tribe, prophesying to us, letting us know that this is what will happen in the end times. Ephraim will be joined unto idols for the Most High for us to leave him alone, right? So that's our northern brothers no longer being the people. So now when we go to the New Testament, right? When we go to the New Testament, this is the book of Romans, chapter 11, and I'm gonna start at verse 13. No, it's lucky I'm gonna start at 11. I'm gonna jump down. This is Romans 11 and verse 11. It says, I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy. Right? Now, if the fall of them be the riches of the world, and the diminishing of them the riches of the Gentiles, how much more their fullness? For I speak to you Gentiles, inasmuch as I am the apostle of the Gentiles. I magnify mine office. I'm going to jump down to verse number 15. But if the casting away of them be the reconciling of the world, what shall the receiving of them be? But life from dead. Right? Verse 16. For if the first fruit be holy, the brother was bringing it out earlier. Who's that holy people? Right? Who's the peculiar people, the holy nation? There's only one nation that's ever been called as holy. That's the Israelites. So Paul is saying, if the first fruit be holy, the lump is also holy, and if the root be holy, so are the branches. This is talking about Israelites being holy, because you won't see in the scriptures any other nations being called holy. So already that dismisses any other people or any other nation. Verse 17. And if some branches be broken off, and thou being a wild olive tree, were grafted in among them, and with them partakers of the roots and fatness of the olive tree. Boast not against the branches, but if thou boast, thou bearest not the roots, but the root thee. That will say then, the branches were broken off, that it might be grafted back in. So people see that and say, wow, the branches are broken off, so get grafted back in. But if you know anything about trees, you can't graft an orange branch onto an apple tree, right? It has to come from the same tree. And again, we read earlier, the first fruit be holy. The Israelites are the only holy people, right? Let's go to Hosea chapter 14 and verse 5. It says, I will be as the dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. His branches shall spread, and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. So Israel is being called as the olive tree, right? This is the same prophet Hosea. He prophesied that, we would leave Israel alone because they'll be joined unto idol. And in the last chapter, just to prove that this talk about Israel, this is Hosea 14 and 1. O Israel, return unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. So Israel has fallen by their iniquity. That's why that's why the branches were broken off. And we became a wild olive tree because we weren't keeping God's laws anymore, right? We were living like beasts, however we wanted. So that's why we have to be grafted back in. That's why Christ's death was so important, for him to shed his blood, for us to come back in his truth, for us to have the opportunity to come back in his truth. That's why Christ's death was so important. Let me get one more. This is the book of Hebrews. This is Hebrews chapter 10 chapter 10. This whole chapter is mighty, man. I'm gonna start at chapter 10, and I'm gonna start at 1. It says, "For the law, having a shadow of good things to come, and not the very image of the things, can never, with those sacrifices which they're offered year by year, continually make the comers their own to perfect." So the law that this is talking about the law of sacrifice, because it even tells you the law having a shadow of good things to come. Because you can't tell me loving my brother as myself, that's a shadow of good things to come. You can't tell me keeping a Sabbath day, which is the holy day for the Most High, that's a shadow of good things to come. You can't tell me looking after my wife, looking after my children, that's a shadow of good things to come. You respecting your mother, your father, that's a shadow of good things to come. That can't be talking about that, right? It's talking about the law of sacrifice, right? And it's going to break that even further. Verse 2. "For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers, once purged, should have had no more conscience of sins." It's a shadow of good things to come, because us offering these sacrifices every year, technically our mind is supposed to be clean from that. But that's not the case though, because verse 3 says, "But in those sacrifices, there is a remembrance again made of sins every year." So because we keep sacrificing, we're reminding ourselves of the sins that we keep committing. Verse 4, "For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats should take away sins. Wherefore, when Christ cometh into the world, he saith, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me." Again, showing that the Most High and Christ are not the same people. The Most High created a body for Christ to dwell in, so he can go through the prophecy that was written. In verse 6, "In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast had no pleasure." The Most High's got no pleasure in burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, right? Because obedience is better than sacrifice. So he'd rather you obey than you having to give a sacrifice. But because he loves us so much, he's allowing us to give sacrifices so we can have a chance to repent for our sins. Because chiefly, the Most High he don't like sacrifices. He don't want you killing animals just to repent. He'd rather you just obey what he wants you to do, right? This is verse 7. It says, now I'm going to read verse 6 again. "In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin, thou hast had no pleasure. Then said I, Lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O God." Right? Because the will of the Most High is keeping his commandments. Right? That's why Christ, therefore, is so important. His blood needed to be shed was very important to bring us back to him. Because there's not amount of bulls and goats that can get us back to actually repent. But having Christ as the ultimate sacrifice, the people who truly believe in him, every time you're about to go off, that should come back in your mind, like what the things that he went through, all of that for you to have a chance to repent. So I believe that's why it's so important for us to always remember what Christ went through, because knowing that should stop you from going off, should stop you from getting swayed by this world. All right? Yeah, I hear you knocking.
Praises. That's a spirit that kind of that leads into the precept I was going to go into quite well. Get Ephesians chapter 2. All right. Ephesians chapter 2. I'll start verse 12. It says that at that time ye were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel. So it's like you're saying, man, without Christ, being an alien from the commonwealth of Israel, right? So if you're without Hamashiach Yahushai, you're alien from Israel. That's deep. Well, how? Right? First, let's go to verse 11. Right? It says, wherefore, remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision, by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Right? So I'm going to read it again a bit slower. It says, wherefore, remember that ye, being in time past Gentiles in the flesh. So these people were deemed as Gentiles. Right? It says, who are called uncircumcision. So they were called Gentiles due to their uncircumcision. Right? It says, by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, which is what? The people that were circumcised with the physical circumcision were calling those who were uncircumcised with the physical circumcision Gentiles. Meaning who? So the Israelites, the Jews who were circumcised, were calling uncircumcised Israelites Gentiles. Why? How? What does that mean? Well, that's going into the next verse when it says that at that time you were without Christ. Right? So they weren't keeping the law and they didn't even know Christ either. It says, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. How? What does that mean? I'm going to go to Genesis 7, because if you were uncircumcised, you would be an alien, right? Meaning you're an outsider. You're not in this. You're not part of the commonwealth of Israel. How's that? What's that going into? I'm going to go to Genesis 17, verse 14. How could a stranger be an alien from the commonwealth of Israel through uncircumcision? It says, and the uncircumcised man-child, whose flesh of his foreskin is not circumcised, that soul shall be cut off from his people. He hath broken my covenant. So an uncircumcised Israelite would be deemed as a Gentile because they'd be cut off from the people. Right? That's why it says they were without Christ because they didn't know Hamashiach Yahushai. Being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise. Right? In Ephesians 2 and 12, it says, having no hope and without God in the world. So they had no hope. They believed, or the understanding was that because they were uncircumcised, that they were doomed. That there was nothing that they could do. There was no repentance for them. It wasn't granted unto them. There was no, becoming a new creation in Hamashiach Malak Yahushai. There was none of that for them. They're just, I know we kind of descended from the Israelites. Maybe they found out, but you know what? Now it's too late for us, man. We can't even be a part of them, man. There, we're just here. We're just gonna have to, we can try and do our best. I kind of feel like I should keep the law anyway, but we can never be a part of that kingdom. So they felt that they were doomed without Christ, man. But they were referred to as Gentiles, strangers, uncircumcised, aliens, without hope, without God. So all of these things come hand in hand. It says, but now in Hamashiach Yahushai, ye who were sometimes far off, right? Because in spiritually, they were far off because they deemed themselves as there's no way I can get to the Lord. I'm far off, I'm cut off, far off, cut off, same thing. It says, are made nigh by the blood of Christ. So through the blood of Hamashiach Yahushai, those who were deemed as cut off can come back into the fold through the blood, right? Who destroys the partition that we had between those who were uncircumcised and who were in the world, right? That they can repent and become a new creation in the Lord. Right? That's what it says in verse 14. It says, for he is our peace, who had made both one, and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. Right? So those that were in the world, man, they can come into this thing. Right? They will be deemed as strangers, though, because they will be estranged from us as those who are in the truth. People that aren't in the truth will be deemed as strangers because they're estranged from the commonwealth of Israel, being without Christ, being in the world. But if they repent and keep the circumcision, which is of the heart, then through the blood of Hamashiach Yahushai, they can come into this thing and will be no more stranger, but will be our friends. Right? Ye my friends, if you do what I command you, paraphrasing. I believe John 13. So, we can, most high willing, we can get our people back into this truth. All right? That was ordained from the beginning. Did you have any last points?
Calm. Got a few more precepts. This is Jeremiah chapter 9 and verse 26. It says, Egypt and Judah and Edom and the children of Ammon and Moab and all that are in the utmost corners that dwell in the wilderness, for all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart. Uncircumcised in the heart, meaning we're not circumcised our heart, meaning we've not put away our flesh. We're not trying to walk in the ways of the Lord. We're trying to walk in the ways of our flesh, like these other heathens, like the Egyptians, like the Edomites, like the Moabites. That's us being uncircumcised in our hearts, right? So when it comes to the prophecies, it was always written that the Israelites will come back together, will be one nation again, right? This is Ezekiel chapter 37 and verse 16. It says, Moreover, thou son of man, take thee one stick and write upon it for Judah and for the children of Israel, his companions. Then take another stick and write upon it for Joseph, the stick of Ephraim, and for all the house of Israel, his companions. I'm going to jump down. No, I'm going to keep reading. Verse 17. And join them one to another into one stick, and they shall become one in thine hand. And when the children of thy people shall speak unto thee, saying, Wilt thou not show us what thou meanest by these? Say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, and the tribes of Israel his fellows, and will put them with him, even with the stick of Judah, and make them one stick, and they shall be one in mine hand. And the sticks whereon thou writest shall be in thine hand before their eyes, and say unto them, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen, whither they be gone, and will gather them on every side, and bring them into their own land. Verse 22, and I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king to them all. And there shall be no more two nations, neither shall there be divided into two kingdoms in more at all. Right? That's the reason why Paul had to go to there was a circumcision and the uncircumcision, because we were divided, right? We're divided due to a number of reasons, right? David, sinning, Solomon sinning, right? That made that rupture between us, and so on and so forth. But guess what? In that day, the heathens are going to know. This is Ezekiel 37 and verse 28. It says, And the heathen shall know that I, the Lord, do sanctify Israel, when my sanctuary shall be in the midst of them forevermore. In that day, they're going to know. Right now, we seem like we're deemed to be the people that just talking rubbish, right? We're just speaking the Bible, nothing's happening, this and that. But when that day comes, everybody's going to know, right? I'm going to get a couple more. This is the book of Romans chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, But glory, honor, and peace to every man that worketh good, to the Jew first and also to the Gentile. First of all, Jew means 3 tribes. So where are the other 3? Where are the other 10 and 9 tribes? Right? And are Israelites ever called Gentiles? Right? That's the type of question Christians can answer. To the Jew first and into the Gentile. Jew means the kingdom of Judah. So what about the other Israelites? Right? They're the Gentiles. Right? Let's prove that. This is Matthew 4 and verse 15. It says, the land of Zebulun and the land of Nephthalim by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. So Israelites are called Gentiles. Hence why Paul is saying to the Jew first and then to the Gentiles. In other words, to those who are keeping the commandments first, and then to them who are not keeping the commandments. But they're going to come back and start keeping the commandments. Right? That's the thing that our Christian brothers are missing. That's what our Christian brothers are missing. Right? You know what? I'm going to yield on that, King.
Well, praises, man. So, you know, Lord willing, you know, that can give some insight onto what strangers going into, man. Right? You hear a lot about the Greeks, the Gentiles, you know, the heathen, you know, the uncircumcision and the strangers. So you want to be able to go into these things, explain them through the spirit of Yahushai, so that, you know, we can come to an understanding. How are people living, man? All nations, they have, you know, a system set in place for, you know, strangers, right? For those that are within and those that are without, right? You know, we even have like crossings and tolls and stuff on the road when you're traveling certain places, right? You got passports, you got all of these things. There's customs set up when it comes to strangers, and you know, we had our own, right? These are ours that, you know, we've been going through for the precepts. You know, these were our customs that came through us being a stranger, you know. Most I wouldn't everyone had a mighty feast day, man, with Purim, destruction of Nicanor, you know, a mighty Sabbath, and you know, Yahweh, you're willing, you have a mighty rest of the week for the spirit. You have any last precepts, any last points?
Come. That's all.
All praises, man. So that's gonna close out, man. Hope everyone has a mighty rest of the week. Shalom.
Shalom.